Greetings, I'm JP.WATKINS. Thank you for joining me. It's a pretty serious topic today, but I will do my best to keep it interesting. But I want you to imagine that you got full faculty, you know what's going on, you know date, time, all these different things. But you can't walk, you can't talk, you can't help yourself. You're immobile. Someone comes in, you don't know who they are. They don't introduce themselves. They don't acknowledge you. They don't say good morning, good afternoon. They dig in the closet. They pull out some clothes, some itchy wool socks, thick, heavy, hot sweater, and they just start to dress you. You're frustrated, and you can't even say, stop, help. How would you feel? I want you to really think about that. Because sometimes it's so easy for us to take things for granted. We take it for granted because we can dress ourselves. We take it for granted because we can go to the bathroom when we feel like it. But for over 20 years, I've worked in health and human services. I've worked in various positions as STNA, home health aide, direct care professional, house manager, case manager. So I've seen this from very, very different perspectives. So one of the things that I advocate for is empowerment. Empowering people, particularly the vulnerable. That's what I've done professionally. But personally, I know how it feels to feel powerless. Have you ever felt powerless? If so, about what? If you're a single mom and you're trying to stop the utilities from getting cut off, how do you feel powerless? If you're in a relationship and you're suffering domestic violence, how do you feel after you got tossed across the room? Powerless. As a father and convicted felon, when I was working and I was either unemployed or underemployed, and I was struggling to pay child support, struggling to make ends meet, and then my kids would want or need something, and I had a 2-week check that sometimes was less than $200 after taxes and child support. How did I feel? Powerless. Impotent. Economically impotent. Financially impotent. Weak. When you're a man and you can't provide and protect for your family, you feel powerless. And the one thing that I learned is a lot of aggressive behavior comes from that sense of feeling powerless. So, and people say, well, this sense of empowerment, how does that apply to professional development, personal development? How does that provide to corporate training? It goes to everything. It applies to everything. Why? Because what happens when you're the manager? I've been a manager, and I know how it is when the owner's child works, and the owner's child is doing all kinds of things that if he wasn't the owner's child, he couldn't do. As a manager, you write them up, you do what you're supposed to do. But nepotism, what does it do? It strips you of your power. So now you feel like I can't be an effective manager because I have no power. When you're in the streets, somebody don't pay you, and you feel like, man, I got to exert power because if I'm a soft target, I'm going to be a frequent target. So a lot of times the behavior. So when you're dealing with clients that sometimes they get up and take a TV and throw it across the room, or even take an employee or another client and throw them across the room. What is this behavior saying? What is this aggressiveness saying? Often if people can't talk, their only means of communication is behavior. So I learned to listen to behavior. So sometimes when you hear that person on the phone or they're at the water utility place and she's really being short and loud and aggressive, it's because she feels powerless or he feels powerless. So now let's get back to what we need to get to. We know how it feels to feel powerless, but how do we get that sense of being empowered? How do we feel empowered? How do we become empowered? Well, I'm going to take it from my professional angle first. As working with persons with disabilities, one of the things that we do to help them empower is we give them choices. So for instance, that individual I was talking about that couldn't talk, that couldn't walk, and couldn't take care of themselves, rather than just come in and not introduce myself and whatever, I come in and I treat them like a person. Say, hey, Miss Such and Such, or whatever they like to be called. Hey, Jim. Hey, Bob. What would you like to wear today? And if they can't talk, that may seem like, what you talking to them? They don't know what you, but trust me, they got full faculty. And a lot of times, if you learn to listen to people's behavior, you learn to communicate on a different level. And then you go get maybe one or two different outfits and say, hey, would you like to wear this? Or would you like to wear this? And sometimes they may not be able to say nothing, but they'll be able to look. They'll look. And they looking, oh, this one? Okay. And you done disempower somebody. Because you let them do what they can do. That's the difference. That's empowerment. Letting people do what they can. Make choices that they can. Make meaningful decisions that impact their own personal life. So you're saying, well, but what that got to do with me? How can I feel empowered? It starts with you. It starts by what you focusing on what you can do. A lot of times we always focus on, man, I can't do this. I cannot do that. I don't have the means to do this. I don't have the resources to do that. If you're watching this channel right now, you're watching an example. For instance, I struggled for years. I graduated with a master's degree, was planning on going on for a PhD, but hit a stone wall. Didn't want to pull out no more debt. Already got a significant amount of debt. And I said, well, hey, at the PhD level, I'm going to get a fellowship, and then I'll, get a job as a professor. And then I'll find some places got tuition remission or something like that and start getting my student loans paid down. And then, work as a professor and, go off into the sunset. Life happened. Things didn't quite plan out that way. So I'm having a ton of debt, and I found myself working jobs, 2-3 jobs at a time, making $9-10 an hour with a master's degree because I wanted to be close to my family, which was in Ohio. Now, if I go out of state to different places, I can make still not great money, but better money. But I wanted to be near my family, my loved ones, my kids in particular. So I was faced with this dilemma. How? I'm looking at, man, I got this gift of communication. I got this ability to speak and express myself in a way. I got this gift of expression. I can write. I had wrote several books under a pen name, under a couple pen names actually. They didn't take off. Once I, did that, I'm like, well, man, this requires resources. This requires money. I'm barely staying afloat. I don't have, and then people's like, well, make a way out of nowhere. I'm like, but how? But then I finally thought about it. I said, you know what you can do? You sitting here, you're diabetic, you're over 300 pounds. You know about intermittent fasting, water fasting. You've done your research. You've done hundreds of hours of reading and research, watching different documentaries, different testimonies. And you sitting around here not doing what you can do. So how did I start feeling empowered? So you know what? Today I get up and I'm going to start confessing and making declarations. Hey, I'm going to be back down to a size 34. I'm going to run an ultra marathon. I hadn't even been running. I just finally did a 10K, which is like 6.2 miles. And I didn't run all of it. I jogged most of it, but I didn't run all of it. And guess what? It's going to be people that's going to say, you ain't running no ultra marathon. You ain't running no 50K. You just said you didn't even run a 10K. But guess what? I started from 0K. So what did I do? I started getting up walking. Then started jogging. Then eventually I worked myself up to where I was walking 2 miles, walking 3 miles. Then I worked myself up to where I was jogging 2 miles, jogging 3 miles. And I'm going to keep working my way up. I focused on what I can do. So that gave me the courage to take other steps. Then as I started listening to all this different self-help, listening to Les Brown, he particularly touched on it when he was like, I don't have no formal education. They said I was retarded. They said I couldn't learn. And here I am now, a master teacher, master corporate trainer, teaching people with master's degrees and PhDs. So I'm thinking, man, and I listened to him. He's great. He's one of the best. Many would say he's the best, but he's definitely one of the best. But then I looked at it and said, man, he did all that. No formal education. You got a formal education. You dropped out of junior high school. You end up going to prison. You got back on the road to redemption. You went back, got a BA, got a master's degree. Hey, that's a pretty decent story. So if Les did it, let's do it. But I'm thinking, but how? I don't have no connections. How I'm going to teach somebody? How I'm going to teach? How I'm going to be a corporate trainer? How I'm going to coach people? I ain't got no money. I don't own no businesses. But you got a gift. You got a gift of making a way out of no way. You got a gift of overcoming. You got a gift of tenacity and resilience. You can teach people, well, how did you stay resilient? How are you living in a condemned house and going to school working on a master's degree? How are you still a positive image to your kids when you was getting less than $200 paychecks every 2 weeks? How did you not fall back into street life when you could have been making thousands of dollars a day versus hundreds of dollars a month? So how did I empower myself? I started focusing on what I could do. First, I couldn't run a mile, so I started walking a mile. So once I started losing weight, getting back in shape, so then I said, okay, what can you do with the speaking thing? So I started Googling stuff, checking out YouTubers, seeing what they do, this and that. Even invested in an online course, and I'm still going to invest in some more online courses and get some coaches and stuff like that. And then I set up this YouTube channel. You looking at somebody who's doing what they can do. And guess what? I know, and I believe it. This is going to spawn a lot of opportunities for me. But it's not about me. I'm just giving you a concrete example. Because sometimes you say, well, yeah, you say do better. You say think positive. But what does that mean? I'm giving an example. The fact that you are watching me right now is an example of being empowered. Using the technology, using what I do have. I don't have no fancy setup. I don't have no fancy editing software. That's why a lot of times I don't edit. So when I'm stuttering and stammering, it's in there. But guess what? As I get better, as I get more resources, as I get more refined and more polished, my product will come out better. But my main goal right now is helping people to help themselves. So I'm using the medium that's there. I'm using what I got. And guess what? That's going to help me in the long run. But my goal is to help you right now. So ask yourself, what can you do to make you feel empowered? Somebody chopping you down, talking about you borderline ugly, you this and that, you lucky that I'm with you. What can you do? Is it about your weight? Maybe you feel like, I done tried to lose weight. I'm tired. I done lost it. I done gained it back. Well, the good thing, if you lost it, you know you can do it. You got to do something differently. You got to make some lifestyle changes. Be in an abusive situation. What can you do about that? Can you reach out to some people? Reach out to some churches. Reach out to some individuals, some friends. Have the courage of your convictions to take action. That's how you become empowered. Start doing the things that you can do. If you don't know where to go, then start finding an example. Like, for instance, I got up this morning feeling kind of discouraged. So I'm like, look, I'm on here, I'm doing this personal governance stuff. Who gonna listen to me? They gonna see this chunky face and be like, what is he talking about? I ain't trying to hear this dude. And then I looked for inspiration. And I wish I had wrote it down because I can't think of his name. But this guy, he was like 605 pounds. Now he's like 275. He a tall dude, like 6'7". And like, if you see him now, it's like, bam. He's like, I lost more weight than I weigh. I'm thinking, dude was 605 pounds. He did it. You gonna tell me you can't pull it together? You gonna tell me you ain't got no dig deep? You gonna tell me you ain't gonna empower yourself? So how did I empower myself? I found an example, an extreme example. So sometimes if we can't find somebody in a similar situation, find somebody in a much graver situation. I was even watching a documentary about a guy with no limbs. He had like one little foot. And this guy was married. And with that foot, he would draw. And he would roll around. And he would do more than most people could ever imagine. And he had no arms and no legs. He just had like a little foot. He still found a way to get up and write. And to get up and lead a meaningful life. Now, most of us, we got full faculty. We can talk, we can walk, we can think. We can use our hands, we can use our feet. But if we can't use our feet, if we can't use our hands, if we've had a stroke, use what you can. Use your brain, use your mind, use your determination. Be determined right now today that I'm going to do something different with my life. I'm going to make a change. Because I matter. If you got low self-esteem and you just feel beat down, you feel ugly, you feel fat, you feel unworthy, look around. You'll see somebody that's so-called unattractive, and they got their kids running up to them. I love you, mommy. I love you. And the kids, they just see that's their mommy. They don't care the fact that she's 430 pounds. They don't care that she's so-called unattractive. They care that this is my mom. I love her. Find an example. Look deep inside yourself and ask yourself, what can I do today? Don't put it off. Because a lot of times we want to put it off. You always want to have these neat beginnings. Let that transformation start today. It's your life. You matter. Your life depends on it. Act like it. Well, I'm going to wrap this up for today. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. I definitely appreciate you. In the meantime, persist, believe, and achieve. And if you know somebody that would benefit from this message, please share it. Thank you for joining me on that inward journey that we are all on. Take care.